Welcome to Celtics Rundown. We are back after a long hiatus. I am your host, Bobby Krivitsky. And what better way to celebrate and return triumphantly than bringing on two GFOPs? We got good friends of the program here, Jack Simone and Sam LaFrance from both Hardwood, Houdini, and How About Them C's. Jack, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm ready to roll. Happy to be back. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. There's a lot to talk about. Samuel, how you doing on this lovely Tuesday afternoon?
Better than yesterday. I'm functioning today. I'm doing well. I was sick yesterday, but I'm feeling much better. And of course, the Celtics propelling me through all of the struggles.
Yeah, it's probably hitting like a shot of vitamin C right now to get you through it. And
which Jack
you will have
cannot stand. He
Well,
despises the vitamin C.
Bring a little OJ in your life, Jack. I'm a big fan.
Used to be. The OJ is not the problem. He's talking about the little packets. Like when I have to put that in my water, I refuse. But I like orange juice as much as the next guy.
Yeah, I don't move like that with the packets either. But OJ used to be like mandatory part of breakfast.
Yeah, I can get on board with some OJ.
Yeah, OJ and cereal for a long time was a staple of breakfast for anyone that knows
in your cereal.
No, on the side. Come on now. Don't do that. That was fake.
I got him. Yes.
I might steal the Section 10 move and start suspending people, and this would be the origin story. Sam LaFrance to the penalty box right out of the gates.
I keep getting invited on the pod, but I just never make it past 2 minutes.
That'd be such a great running bit. We just never hear from him, but he's always on. So let's get into it, though, because there is so much to unpack with the way that this Celtics season of defying expectations from the outside have gone. So, Jack, I want to kick it over to you to start here. They've surged into third in the Eastern Conference. They're only 1.5 games behind the Knicks, who are in second. What, in your opinion, is driving that success?
I think a big part of it is the shooting coming around. I mean, I think they were a good team in the early part of the season. I think they were sitting like hovering game above 500, back down to 500. And I thought the defense was solid. I thought the offensive process was solid, but shots just weren't falling. And now Derek White's in a rhythm again. Peyton Pritchard shooting a little bit better. You're getting consistent shots from the role players like Walsh, Sharman, Ugo, Minot. Jaylen Brown's been an absolute monster. So I think the defense has remained underrated. I think they're giving up like the fewest shots per game in the NBA, and the defensive rating might not be good, but they're not allowing a ton of points because they're limiting possessions. And I think that's been pretty consistent throughout the year. And I think that is improving too, but the offense, which has been good all year, you're just finally starting to see like the fruits of their labor in terms of the shots falling. And I mean, they've surged to the second best or third best or around their top 3 offense in the NBA on the season. And I think they're second only to the Nuggets, which has the best player we've seen in maybe the last decade. So I think that's some pretty good company to be in. And I think just seeing Derek White, finally hit some shots, seeing Peyton Pritchard hit some shots, seeing the guys start to make the shots that they've been getting all year in terms of high quality, that's really just resulted in the results flipping their way more often.
And Sam, they have the most wins against teams with a 500 record or better. So as they're accomplishing this and are doing so against quality opponents, how has your outlook changed on what they can accomplish this season?
I mean, I was a big refuse to get off the fence guy. Like I was like, oh, maybe they'll be good. Maybe they won't be good. I'm afraid to be wrong, so I'm not going to make a prediction. And I probably leaned into like, I didn't think they'd be very good. I didn't think much of the roster. I think the fact that they've shown that they can play against these teams has not only like made me more confident, but it's made them more confident. Like the win over the Pistons last month was an incredible environment to be in. The Garden was as loud as it's been probably since the playoffs, maybe even louder, because people in the playoffs didn't really care until the conference finals the year before, and they didn't make it that far in 2025. So just the sheer energy they got from the fan base, it was like a stamp of approval. It was an instillment of confidence. It was a blessing. And like the players they are 7-1 since then, 5-1, something like that. They've only lost the one game against Minnesota. They just look like a different team. They look confident. I think their confidence really showed. It was the Wizards, but in that game without Jaylen Brown, you put up 146 points without your best player, and it was a beatdown. you managed to score not only like a team high, a league high in points without Jalen. All the role players stepped up. Derek White's confidence has come back. And to me, I think they can compete with anybody now. I've kind of bought into that. I think their upcoming game against the Pistons next Monday will be a really fun one to watch. And hopefully they can continue this win streak into the new year. Like, okay, they've won 5 in a row. They play Milwaukee on Thursday, who sucks. They don't have Giannis. They play Detroit, who's a good opponent. Then they play Miami, Toronto, who are both quality opponents. Then Indiana twice, Utah, and another bad team mixed in there. It is very possible they don't lose again this year.
First off, props for going
Sacramento.
off memory there.
Sacramento's the other one. I just
wrote about it. Don't give me too much credit. I just wrote about it, and I couldn't tell you all the teams. Yes, Sacramento is correct.
I think a lot of people thought that you were looking at a screen, reading the schedule, and then realized that he's just rattling off games off the dome right now. So, granted, you kind of exposed yourself, but still impressive.
You want me to do all 82
or not? What's up?
You want me to just do all 82 games off the top of my head?
I mean, I'd let you shoot for as long as you can, but I don't think that's great content. I think we'd lose some audience members right here on the stream. Anyways, though, it's interesting because when the season started, a lot of the focus became about, wow, look at these guys who are proving that they can be contributors long term. And when this team gets back to title contention and Jason Tatum is ready to resume his role in that quest. And now all of a sudden it has gotten to the point where the East is wide open. They're surging. It's not just individual leaps, but it's really happening collectively. And so all of a sudden it becomes more, you can see the focus starting to shift into the present and what can this team do? So Jack, I ask you, when you look at a wide open Eastern Conference, when you see what the Celtics are accomplishing, do you start to change your expectations for, okay, this can all of a sudden go from being the type of team that maybe a higher seed doesn't want to draw in the playoffs to no, this looks like it's going to be one of the higher seeds. And I buy in to a pretty meaningful extent to what's happening right now.
Yeah, on our latest pod, which I think came out today, I said that my win prediction all season from the preseason has been 45 wins. I've always thought this team was going to win 45, and I bumped it up. I said, you know what, based on what's happening, I'll go to 48, and we're going to monitor and keep going based on how they play. But I also said, like, I don't think they'll be favored in every series they play in the playoffs. I don't think they'll be favored against the Pistons or the Knicks or some of these other top teams. I think they have a legitimate chance to beat any team in the Eastern Conference in a 7-game series. Like, I think there is a non-zero chance that this team makes the finals without Jason Tatum on the court. Like, that's how good they've been. They're competing with every team. I think they would be underdogs. Like I said, Pistons, Knicks, Heat, even maybe. Like, I don't really know, right? Like, they could be even slight underdogs against teams like Philly or Cleveland if the books, really value the health and if those teams get healthy. But I think they have a chance to beat any of those teams in a playoff series, and I think they will end up as a top 6 seed, maybe even top 4 seed with home court advantage in the first round. Like, this team is just playing really good basketball. Joe Mazzulla is one of, if not the best coach in the NBA right now, and I think it's going to carry them very, very far into the postseason.
Yeah, I think Joe Mazzulla has done a phenomenal job. If the voting was right now, you could say, oh, you're on the Celtics beat and there's influence there. And I'll acknowledge that there's a factor of being around one team more than the rest. But I think he deserves Coach of the Year. And maybe
if there is anybody who should be unbiased to Joe Mazzulla, it's the guy who's yelled at like 4 times this year. I have no reason to puff piece this guy. I have no reason to boost him upwards. He's like, and I have nothing against Joe, obviously it's all a joke, but like genuinely he this coaching job has been incredible. Jalen's play has been incredible, and those two in tandem I think have earned all NBA first team and Coach of the Year shouts by a mile, and so they deserve the credit that comes with that.
1,000%. And I have a Jaylen Brown question for both of you we'll get to somewhat shortly, but yeah, I would say the combination of what Joe Mazzulla and that coaching staff and the Celtics infrastructure. And when I say player development, that really does span from the front office all the way down to the people like Craig Lucianette and Tyler Lashbrook and everyone who has such a significant hand in shaping that. That combination is why this team hasn't buckled without Jason Tatum, with the roster changes that have come from being over the second apron 2 years in a row and having to prioritize flexibility all of a sudden this summer. And you're seeing Josh Minott become the player that he always envisioned and hoped, if I get an opportunity, watch what I'm going to do with it. Jordan Walsh, a guy that came into this season fighting for, frankly, not just his Celtics future, but his NBA career. And look at the ascent that he's made, to where Blake Griffin can't stop praising him and literally saying, I just love Jordan Walsh so much on broadcast. I mean, it's been that kind of an ascent, and all these players up and down the roster are having this glow up, and it looks very real and sustainable, not just like this hot stretch in November and December. So the combination, Sam, as I ask you for your outlook on this team's playoff prospects and where you slot them into the equation in the East, what I'm saying basically is that what we're seeing is an elite organization planting very real, sustainable results.
Yeah, I mean, nothing about this. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. A lot of this recent improved play from the Celtics doesn't feel fluky. It just feels like they're kind of learning as they go. And I know Jaylen Brown has talked a lot about expectations. Before the season, he was like, hey, everybody, like, we might suck for a bit, so be nice to us. And then he kind of reiterated that after the Lakers game. He was like, look, I try to tell all you guys, like, it's going to take a little bit of time. And now you're starting to see all of the younger, less experienced guys come along. And, like, should you sit here and think that Josh Minott is going to shoot like 50% from three for the whole season? Probably not. But I would say, like, what you're seeing from him now is closer to what you should expect rather than like what it was coming into the season. Like, he's taken a larger sample size of 3-pointers with the Celtics than he had for his entire 3 years with Minnesota. Like, that's how much his role has increased. And the same can be said for Jordan, where it's just like he's being asked to do so much more now, and he's clearly ready for the moment. And I think, like, because of the emergence of these young guys and the fearlessness that they play with, like, they weren't afraid of the Pistons when they had won 13 in a row. They weren't afraid of the Knicks when they came into the Garden and they went down 14 points last week. They're ready for the occasion. So if I'm one of these better teams in the Eastern Conference, I would not want to see the Celtics in playoff series. I mean, it's December. It's a little early for nobody wants to see the Celtics talk, but, like, it's true. They're third in the East right now. It's clearly for a reason. Like, they're playing really good basketball. Jaylen Brown's playing at a borderline MVP level. He should be all NBA first team if the season ended today. Like, he, as an individual, has risen up so much. And it's like, there were two wolves. One of them was, hey, Jaylen, you can just be a good stats bad team guy and take as many shots as you want because Jason's not here. And the rest of these new addition guys are unexperienced and they don't have a ton of NBA chops yet. Or you can lead from the front, do everything you can to make this team bond together, play and show that leadership on the court. And he chose that one. And it's brought this team a long way and done a lot for the ceiling.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I don't think it's a surprise either. Like, I've been saying forever, I think a lot of people have, that Game 5 against the Knicks, the way that Jaylen played that night exemplified what he wants to do with this opportunity where he's shouldering more responsibility. For him, it's not about, hey, watch me go deeper into my bag and show you how many points I can score. And the mission is, let me get 30 plus a night, and anything else that happens is gravy. It's about being a rising tide that lifts all boats. And we're seeing that. One of the ways that does happen is through his efficient scoring. So I'm curious to get your outlook, both of you. Jack, we'll start with you here. He has sniffed shooting 50% from the floor before. He came literally one tick below it a couple of years ago in 2023-24 when he shot 49.9%. He has come close to averaging 5 assists a year ago. He got to 4.5. Right now, his shooting numbers from the field is 49.6. His distribution is 4.9 assists per game. Does Jaylen Brown finish the season shooting 50% from the field, averaging 5 assists, or both? So in other words, which one is more likely? Or do you think he finishes accomplishing both of those feats?
I don't know about the 50%. I think maybe, right? Like, I think there will inevitably be a stretch where he's a little bit cold from mid-range. And I don't think it's gonna be like crazy cold, but I'm saying like instead of shooting 53%, he'll shoot like 45%. You know what I'm saying? So I think that'll dip down just a little bit. And so I don't know if we'll get to 50%. I think he will get 5+ assists a game. And I think a big part of that is he probably would have it right now if Derek White and Peyton Pritchard and the rest of the guys were making their shots for the first 20 games of the season. So you can't get an assist if the other guy doesn't make a shot. Like I bet his potential assist numbers are through the roof right now. I don't know if I can find them off the top of my head while I'm just rambling here, but like he has been a phenomenal offensive orchestrator for this team so far this year, to the point where when he's on the floor, the offense is just better. Like he has just been an incredible lead player this season in terms of drawing to, purely because if they don't double him, them being the opponent, he is going to create an open shot. He's averaging 9.4 potential assists this season. In fact, him, Pritchard, and Derek White, Jalen is at 9.4 potential assists, Derek is at 9.3 potential assists, and Pritchard is at 9.4 potential assists. They're all exactly the same. And so if you just have a couple extra guys make a couple extra shots, I think Jalen will get over 5 assists. So I'll say like no, but maybe on the 50%, but I think he'll get to the 5.0 assists per game.
Sam, same question.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the shooting stuff, I tend to agree with Jack on that, but I will say like over the last 12 games, his overall efficiency has dropped field goal percentage wise, while his 3-point percentage has increased based on what it was like over another recent stretch. So with that being said, like the mid-range, I don't have it in front of me, but the mid-range would hypothetically be dropping a little bit already. And I don't know how sustainable it is to be otherworldly, but he's somebody who in the past we've seen dominate from that area before. When he was on that finals MVP run, he was getting buckets from the mid-range like it was nobody's business. He's a reliable mid-range shooter, and he wasn't able to produce at the same level last year because he was injured. He was literally playing through a torn meniscus. So I think if we all factor that in, this Jalen leap should be a little bit less surprising. As far as the assists go, it really, I'm a big believer in it just depends on what your teammates have for you. If everybody wants to keep making threes, that's cool with me. I would love to see Jalen over 5 assists a game. He's hovering right there right now. I know he's at 4.9. So it's possible. It just really depends on how well the rest of the guys hold up, which, assuming that they continue to get more comfortable, you would have to think would be better. Like they continue to shoot this way. So I'm confident.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, look, I think that you guys have both nailed it here, where it's really hard. And I know that he's come close. It's really hard for a wing to be able to finish shooting 50% from the field. The 3-point percentage there and conversion rate for Jalen is notable. By the way, mid-range for the season for Jalen is also 49.6%. So he's gotten back to, there was a little bit of a dip a year ago, but he's gotten back to being that mid-range maestro where it kind of feels stuck on automatic. It's going to be interesting to see because it's so easy to anticipate there being a dip. And when you're trying to get to 50% from the field, in this case, a lot has to go right and a lot has to be sustained. So even if it's a small dip, like Jack said, that probably stands in the way. So to his credit, he's come close before. Another factor in this whole equation is the potential return of Jason Tatum. And he posted on Instagram yesterday. It's him and Nick Sang, and he's on the court in warmups with the caption "soon." And Bill Simmons, Sam and I both listen regularly. He just kind of threw it out there at the end of his podcast that there are, quote, real rumblings of him coming back in January. And I mean, I think that the medical community, the more and more you speak with them, the more they believe that the timeline is possible. It doesn't mean that the Celtics will greenlight it and all that, but they look at it like there's been so many advancements in how they treat a torn Achilles that if you do everything right, that January is realistic. Now, that's not me predicting he comes back in January, but Tatum's return, Jack, have you changed your outlook on his ability to come back this season, what it means for the team, and potentially what he could contribute?
Yeah, I mean, Sam can vouch. I've said the same thing all season. I don't care if the Celtics are 0-25 or 25-0. Jason Tatum's return should be based on how Jason Tatum feels. Like if he gets to the point where they are a number 3 pick lottery team, but the only thing left in his recovery is to play NBA minutes and see how he feels, let him play NBA minutes. It doesn't matter. Who cares, right? Like the number one priority for the entire organization, tank, no tank, playoffs, no playoffs, should be the health of Jason Tatum moving forward, right? At least in terms of him, Jason Tatum, and their work with him, right? Obviously, you want to help Jaylen Brown. You want to prioritize how well this team can be. But realistically, like when they're working with Jason Tatum, trying to get him healthy, they need to do whatever they can, right? So if it gets to the point where he's done everything he can behind the scenes, he's worked out in practices with the Celtics, he's jumping, he's running, he's shooting, he's doing everything, he's moving 100% as well as he can. And the only thing left is we got to do some live contact, even if that is like a 15-20 minute restriction. Let him play. And I would say the same thing if the Celtics were one of the worst teams in the league, or if they're one of the best, which they are right now. So whenever that time comes, if that time comes this year, bring him back. If it doesn't come this year, don't bring him back. I don't think how the season is going for the Celtics should have any impact whatsoever on when or how Jason Tatum returns.
Sam, same question.
I would have told you in the summer, like when all of the trades were happening right after the draft, there's no chance, don't even think about it. There's no reason for them to do this. And then he just went on his little media tour and was like, hey, everybody, like, I'm going to play this season. Like, don't say I'm not playing because I might play. And from that point on, I've just kind of been like, maybe. And then they keep winning games. Now, the thing about them winning games, and the good thing about it, is they don't need him to be competitive, right? Like, even if he never comes back this season, there's no team in the East right now that you would go into a playoff series against being like, there's no shot the Celtics win. Like Jack said earlier, they might not be favored, but it's like, they're going to like drag them as much as they possibly can before they let them get out of this round. So I think there's like a bittersweet aspect to that where it is a good thing, especially for us, is like people covering the team. And also like, if you want to see the team win, like it's great to see them be able to win without him. But there's a weird pressure that comes with his return on his end that's like, hey, if you're going to come back, the team cannot get worse or people are going to start pointing fingers at you, whether it's like smart people or not, they're going to be loud about it. And the sooner the better in terms of that. And I'm not saying rush him back, but if he's ready to go, there's no reason to be overcautious if he can play and not risk further injury, because you want to get the kinks out of the way before the games start to matter. And the way this team is playing, they are going to be playing games that matter when the spring comes.
Yeah, I'm with Jack. I look at it as what the Celtics are doing and Jason Tatum's recovery are two independent factors here. And so it's going to be really interesting because to me, the ultimate question where you merge both is the postseason, where everything, just those minutes that you're logging, become more intense and more stressful on the body. And so I think that's a concern that the Celtics would be right to have is, are we going to, if Jason Tatum gets cleared during the regular season, introduce him into a playoff environment? And that's where, Sam, the relevance of how quickly is he back in the lineup if it happens this season so that we feel comfortable enough keeping him in the fold come playoff time. That to me is a major question where I would imagine there are some people in the organization not totally comfortable with the idea of Jason Tatum, if he hasn't had enough game reps, being a part of this team in the playoffs. That to me would be a concern, but we'll see if he does, like Bill Simmons says, there's real rumblings about January. If that happens, for example, that's enough time where you feel good about it. But you even wonder if there are some conversations of, okay, introducing him into the fold, how is that going to affect people mentally? Like a Jordan Walsh and a Josh Minot, for example, you're cutting into their minutes. How do they handle that reality? Now, it is kind of a big bank, take little bank situation where it's Jason Tatum. He's going to eat into your minutes if he's back. That's just the nature of the beast. But you almost wonder if the Celtics say, we're just more comfortable waiting. And if we can get Jason on that same page, maybe we even play him a little bit late in the regular season and that's it. But I don't know, Jack, do you think it's at all realistic that they would, if it gets long enough, be like, hey, at this point in the game, let's get you some regular season reps for you to build off of and feel good going into the summer, but ultimately maybe not be a part of the playoff roster?
I think if Jason Tatum is healthy and ready to play, he has to play. I think he is too good of a player to like if it was, I'm trying to think of an example around the league. If like Jordan Walsh or like a Cam Johnson in Denver or a Brandon Pajemski in Golden State, like if one of those guys is like, you were out all year, we developed a really good rhythm, like we'll hold, like maybe you'll play a little bit and we'll go. Jason Tatum's like a top 5 player of the NBA for the past 10 years. Like it's really hard. Like you can't sit that guy out. Now, I do think there is some validity to, we have to make sure he is ready to play this scheme that we have cooked up because it is too hard to teach everybody to play a different way. And so he has to be ready to play the help and rotate defense, which for what it's worth, I think he'll be really good at. He has to be ready to play this offense where Jaylen Brown's going to have the ball a lot, right? And Jason Tatum's going to have the ball a lot too, but you can't dig into what Jaylen Brown has successfully done this year. And I do think there is opportunity for both of them to thrive. I think Jason Tatum's probably a better off-ball player than Jaylen Brown. So I'm not saying this needs to go to a Jaylen Brown-led Celtics team versus Jason Tatum because it's Jason Tatum. But if Jason Tatum needs some time to come back and get ready to what he could be, like Jason Tatum as an off-ball threat is probably really good, like a really good off-ball threat, a really good guy in the short roll. If you want to run some pick and rolls with Jaylen as the ball handler and Tatum as the screener, and he can make the plays out of the short roll, that is a disgusting duo. So I do think there are ways to bring him back, but not disrupt the flow. But I don't think the answer is to just not play him because he's just, I mean, it's Jason Tatum. He's too good for that.
All right, Sam, I'm going to go to you now with a very different subject for us to close on here. We're going to end with some trade talk. This is going to be for both of you. We're going to start with Samuel. Would you like to see them take the type of aggressive swing, and you can replace this name for another if you have someone in mind or an added option you want to introduce to the mix here, but an aggressive swing like going after Ivica Zubac from the Los Angeles Clippers? Are you more interested in a smaller deal like Day'Ron Sharpe, who they tried to sign over the summer? Or do you swing all the way around to keep Anthony Simons and continue to try to get more and more out of him?
I'd like to see Jack have the worst year ever, so I would like them to keep Simons. but actually, no, I think Zubac is the best mentioned. And the reason why I think Zubac is the best mentioned, because his addition will check so many different boxes on and off the court, right? So Zubac, if you trade Simons for him, and like even if you give up, like let's say it's 2 first-round picks, that's what Michael Scotto included in his, I wouldn't even call it a report, more so speculation on the scenario. If you do that, you're not gutting the war chest. You're going into it, but you're doing it to take a swing on a season that is like playing with house money. I guess if you make a trade like that, it does elevate the expectations a little bit, but it also cuts $9 million off your books. So by doing that, you're underneath the first apron. And if you do it, I think you only need 12 million to get under the luxury tax. So 9.5 million, whatever the difference is, plus Chris Boucher somewhere else who just does not play on this team and probably isn't thrilled about it as he's kind of fighting for his NBA life, gets you underneath the tax, and you can get a head start on resetting the repeater tax and make it easier to put a team together down the line. And one of the reasons why I feel better than normal about giving up picks is like, I hate giving up picks. I'm so like cautious about that, the way the CBA is now. But you've essentially gotten 3 free guys that you never thought would be anything this season, and Jordan Walsh, Minot, and Baylor. Ugo was someone that like the jury was still out on, so we didn't know whether to be like, he's not going to be anybody or he is. But the 3 other guys that I mentioned, like there was nothing. Maybe you feel good about Walsh's good summer league game when he got ejected, but like besides that, there was nothing that was like, oh, they're going to be awesome this year and they're going to be rotation guys going forward. Now you've got all those guys on cheap contracts, not to mention Nimi, who's been awesome on a cheap contract, that allows you to avoid having to rely on new draft picks coming in to keep your books low. And so because of that, Zubac is all defensive level play of last year. He's not quite at the same level this year, but like the Clippers also suck. So you're not going to get as good of production out of role players when you're not able to have Kawhi on the court as often as you would have liked, or the chemistry issues in LA where Ty Lue and Chris Paul aren't even speaking to each other. Like that cannot be a good environment to be in. Never mind like the Kawhi aspiration drama that was there going into the season. Like there's so many bad things happening at the Intuit Dome that, yeah, it makes little sense that Zubac's numbers are a little bit lower, not even significantly, like a little lower than they were last year. And I think here he would really thrive.
Jack, same question. What size swing would you like to see the Celtics take?
Are you guys familiar with the song where it goes, he's done miracles on me? That would be me if they got Ivica Zubac. I think Ivica Zubac is an incredible basketball player. I think he'd be the perfect fit with the Celtics team. For what it's worth, I think Anthony Simons has been really good for the past 2 weeks. Like I think he's really turned his season around. I think he's showing a lot of good flashes as a defender, and he's really found a role as an offensive player. But if you can get Zubac for him, and then I don't know how the luxury or the repeater tax would work because they would have to sign somebody in Boucher's spot. Maybe they could get like Amari Williams and upgrade him, and he'd be cheap since it'd be a they'd only have to pay him for half a season technically on that high salary. So I don't know how that would work. Maybe Brad and his team can work some cap magic, but give up picks for Zubac, bring him in. I think it'd be so worth it. I think him and Neemias Queta are incredible. I mean, I think you would start Zubac, but that's not because Neemias Queta hasn't been good. I think he's a legitimate NBA starting caliber center now. Like he's that good, but he just can't play 30 minutes consistently. It's so it seems. So I think having Zubac to play 28 and then having Nemi play the other 20, or having Zubac play 24 if Nemi has it, play him 20. Like find that balance. That's an incredible 1-2 punch. And Zubac is under contract for the next 2 years. And the reason I'm okay with giving up picks is because of guys like Ryan Nembhard, Craig Porter Jr., and Dennis Jenkins, who are now all legitimate NBA rotation players and have went undrafted in the last 3 years, right? Like, how much does the draft matter if you can pluck guys out of undrafted free agency like Sam Hauser, right? Like, you can find ways, or if you can steal a guy from a team who dropped their, like Neemias Queta was a cast-off from the Kings, and now he's a starting center on a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, right? So, like, if the Celtics are good enough at that, trading these picks and just banking on their development and stuff like that, I think is a perfectly fine route to take. And if you can accomplish 2 goals in one, like trying to get closer to that, ditching the repeater tax and also getting an upgrade, again, not a knock on Anthony Simons. I think he's actually, like I said, been really good, but Zubac was a near all NBA caliber center last year. And if you get him for this year and then 2 years after that, roll out a starting lineup next year, potentially of Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Ivica Zubac, with Jordan Walsh, Sam Hauser, Baylor Shireman, Neemias Queta, Josh Minot off the bench, and Ugo, you're in a really, really, really good spot to compete for a title next year. Like that is absolutely worth the 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, that's the thing. The priority is building a champion. And in this day and age, more than ever, as nice a buzzword and a phrase to market yourself as sustainable contender sounds, it's harder than ever. It's more short-lived than ever under this punitive collective bargaining agreement. Granted, they can opt out in 2030 and change the landscape again, but still, I look at it and say, I'm not like Ivica Zubac is a chance to accomplish 2 goals here at one, as we've discussed, with flexibility plus upgrading the center spot. And Neemias Queta has been very impressive. I still look at Zubac as an upgrade while understanding that Queta, it's an open-ended question of how much can he continue to grow in this role with this opportunity. I would still go get Zubac, accomplish those 2 different things. And there's this youth movement going on that Sam hit on in particular. Has been very impressive, very encouraging. And when you look at how it came in the form of first-round picks, it's Baylor Shireman and Ugo Gonzalez. And so, I mean, are we really going to hold on for the possibility of adding another one of those players? Respectfully, no. I think the answer is, if you can get Zubac, and maybe the Clippers, it's very easy to say we want to keep Zoo. It's also very easy to say that the best offer is not going to be, because of the Stepien rule, something like a first-round pick from the Celtics, who are on fire right now in this year's draft, and then one that we have to wait until like 2030 to cash in. That might not be the best offer on the table, as much as they've had past interest in Simons, according to Scotto, when he was in Portland. So I don't know if the Celtics ultimately put the best offer on the table, but from their perspective, I do think it's something that they should aggressively pursue, that it makes a ton of sense. It's kind of crazy to think in what relatively short order, we're all of a sudden bullish on the idea of two centers that are not floor spacers for this team. But you see how well it works with Zubac in LA, with Keita here and what he's doing in this offense. So I absolutely think that it's worth it. And I wouldn't be dissuaded by some of the smaller costs that could come with giving up 2 first-round picks, even understanding that in the 2030s, it might be harder to find, to keep some of these younger guys that you're hitting on now on team-friendly deals. Those contracts are going to expire, and the Jordan Walshes, the Josh Minots of the world, even Keita, what does that look like in the future? But Zubac is only 28, multi-year contract at a team-friendly rate. So I say go and get him. The last point in this long-winded sentence will be something important that Jack noted on. I've been saying since the summer that you're going to have to give guys up and down the roster grace, because this team is defined by players in new roles. In many of them, it's a new system. And so Simons, he spent the last 2 years on a bad Portland team getting to be the primary offensive option. He said it himself after that game against Orlando here at TD Garden that he grew accustomed to wanting to read the defense and ease his way into games, feel everything out, get more aggressive in the second half. It's a total 180 when you're in the 6-man role coming off the bench, and it's a contract year, which might not be on his mind when he goes on the court, but trust me, he's aware of the situation that he's fighting for his money. So to see him turn it around, it's not a surprise that he didn't just from day one step in and be awesome and have an understanding of mentally, how do I change my mindset and then apply it successfully every single night from day one. So you got to give players some patience. We're seeing that rewarded up and down the roster. Simons, the last couple of weeks, an example of that, but still, if they can go get a Vika Zubac, I'm all for it. I wouldn't be upset with a small swing like a Day'Ron Sharpe. He intrigues me, but yeah, at the end of the day, the goal is a championship. It's harder than ever to sustain a contender, and I would want to maximize however long you have left in this window with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Right now, I'm going to give you both the floor respectively. Jack, we'll start with you to plug and promote your work and let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Jack Simone NBA. I'm also on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram at the same handle, doing video, play breakdown, stuff like that. I'm sure Sam will say the same thing, but we do a podcast. How about them Celtics? There's new video content and podcast content on there every single day, and on the Spotify and other podcast platform feed Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, and after every game, the day after every game. So I'll let Sam rock. You muted yourself by accident, I believe.
How about them Celtics? As Jack said, we are on YouTube daily, new stuff, and we're also both writing at Hardwood Houdini. You can follow me on Twitter at LaFrance NBA. I don't know if you think I'm funny, share the stuff. That's just about it.
Sam is funny. He does excellent work. I can't imagine there's someone on the stream right now who hasn't seen Jack's video breakdowns. They are truly exceptional. So go support all of our work, whether it be on social, through the video breakdowns, through the How About Them C's podcast, which is phenomenal, one of the best in the game, and of course over at Hardwood Houdini. So thank you to everyone. The Celtics Rundown is officially relaunched and returning with today's episode. We will be moving forward on a consistent basis with streams coming out at noon Eastern. I'm Bobby Krivitsky. You can find me at Hardwood Houdini, at Forbes, and over on social with this name spelled the same way, especially on Twitter. That's it for us. Thanks for tuning in.